What you absolutely need to know about soul contracts. A promise is a promise. We make soul contracts with each other before we come into the world or move on to the next incarnation. They are an important part of our learning process and are intended to make us better people in every dimension in which we find ourselves. Sometimes these agreements serve our personal development. Sometimes they are an important building block of our spiritual growth. Many soul contracts are only fulfilled at the second or third attempt, or even much later. One lifetime is usually not long enough to accomplish all the karmic tasks and burdens we carry with us. Some soul contracts also become obsolete over time. They have either served their purpose or circumstances have changed. Then it is time to declare these cosmic arrangements over. Here we show you how you can do this and what else you should know about soul contracts. 1. What is in a soul contract? There are many good reasons to prepare for your next entry into earthly life by means of a soul contract. We choose these partner souls according to certain criteria. The spiritual world assumes that these contracts are voluntary. No power can force us to make a pact, not even from one soul to the next. However, circumstances can sometimes steer us in a certain direction. As we know, our soul is not only immortal, it also carries all the knowledge of the universe within it. So if it thinks it is a good idea to join forces with another for a specific purpose, we can trust it unconditionally. Souls most often form such alliances for the following reasons. A. Healing from trauma. Those who have suffered loss and pain in their last life sometimes need some extra time to come to terms with it. A human life can be short if the wounds are deep. Your soul wants to give you the opportunity for a new start, but this will only succeed if you have someone by your side in this new life who heals your karmic wounds for you. B. Lessons about life and people. Soul contracts do not always have pleasant consequences. Sometimes we make them with the teachers, sometimes with the destroyers. Both bring us closer to lessons that we should understand sooner rather than later. Anyone who feels they have fallen short at the end of a life in terms of success and career, for example, can point their soul in the right direction for the next life. To do this, it will be necessary to meet other people than in this life. Alliances and alliances will be beneficial that we would probably never make with these people under other circumstances. The small print in soul contracts can literally bring us to our knees. The consequence of this, however, is growth to unimagined heights. C. Family and friends rely on us. Soul contracts are never 100% selfish. They always have an eye on give and take, and often serve as a link between fragile relationships. Hardly any family gets by without trauma and conflict. Hardly any friendship gets to know only the sunny side of interpersonal relationships. Soul contracts then serve to prevent these bonds from being severed. They prevent us from throwing in the towel just because things get difficult. This can be observed very well in once deep friendships that have lost sight of each other over the years. When they meet again, the lost time feels like the blink of an eye. A seamless connection to the trusting basis of the past is achieved in no time at all. Marriages and relationships also benefit from a soul contract. Anyone who decided in a previous life that this should not be the end of their journey together will be able to continue it. However, this does not guarantee pure romance and endless walks on the beach in the sunset. A pact between two loving souls is more like a silent agreement. You can live without the other, but you don't want to. D. We are called upon to share our knowledge. Some souls who have experienced many reincarnations have a lot to tell. Even if we cannot consciously remember all the previous lives, we still have a hunch. Our experiences are safely stored in the archive or memory of the universe, also known as the Akashic Records. When required, our soul is able to retrieve the necessary information from it. In these moments, we act intuitively and on instinct. We don't know where the sudden inspiration comes from that makes us say or do the right thing. It is precisely at these moments that we fall back on data from the cosmic memory palace. Anyone who has been able to accumulate a veritable treasure trove of knowledge over the centuries and millennia is practically obliged to share it with other people. The soul contracts ensure that it ends up in the right hands. We thus become universal mentors. This task is important and earns us plenty of points for good karma. However, the recipient at the other end must also be willing and ready to learn from us, and this is exactly where soul contracts come into play. 2. How and why do you dissolve soul contracts? As with any decision once made, circumstances can arise or conditions can change that make it necessary to reassess the situation. Sometimes so-called walk-ins occur. Here, two souls swap places in one body. Even then, of course, agreements once made no longer apply. Karma basically stipulates that soul contracts must be fulfilled. However, we are free to renegotiate and sometimes insist on exit clauses, which every contract contains. The prerequisite for such an exit is that the result must change for the better for everyone involved. Karma does not allow deterioration purely out of self-interest. If you sense that a soul contract no longer feels right and good, be aware of this. Think about the steps that have brought you this far. Realize what you want instead, and offer this option to the universe. Rituals can help with this. For example, you can write your declaration of renunciation on a piece of paper, read it out loud, and then burn it. Your soul contract will vanish into thin air with the smoke. As with all contracts, it is important to attach importance to formalities. A soul contract is not a small thing that you can scrape off the sole of your shoe like annoying chewing gum. Your former self had something in mind, and the universe agreed to this plan. So if you want to get out of such an agreement, think about it carefully, and take one conscious and mindful step at a time. New deal, new happiness. You can enter into, change, or terminate a soul contract at any time in your life. However, you should not take these things lightly. The higher powers sit directly at the negotiating table with us. However, no one can take away your free will. Always keep the first rule of karma in mind. Do not do to others what you would not want done to yourself. Spiritual growth can be that simple. Respect, humility, and a little foresight do not hurt. Your soul plan will reveal everything else to you when the time is right.